coming up on Table 2 for the first 4 days here in Manchester. And you won't miss a ball, as every game is available live on ITVX. This afternoon, Xiao Guodong and Yize do battle again after playing out a thrilling decider last week in Telford. And Stephen Hallworth and McMullan will be in position again in the comms box. A great week ahead, Michael.
Yeah, another Telford rematch to start us here as well, Jill, on Table 2. And in Yize, Stephen, we've got one of the most improved players of this season.
Yeah, very exciting player as well, isn't he? I love watching him play. He plays the game the right way. 2 finals this year as well. He's full of confidence, deservedly in this event, and it went the distance the last time they met. Could it be the same today? And
Xiao, also one of the most improved players of the season, which is an unusual thing to say about a player who's been on the circuit for such a long time.
Yeah, since 2007, he's been somewhat of a journeyman, I suppose, but his breakthrough season has been this year, winning out in Wuhan. He's been a good player for a lot of years now. He's become a great player now, and he's in the world's top 16, and he's going to be a danger.
2 of China's finest meeting again then on ITVX this afternoon.
Yeah, looking forward to this one as well. It was Guodong who got the best of it last week, but it went down to deciding flame. He needed a bit of luck to get over the line, didn't he?
He got an outrageous fluke. He was in a snooker and just played a bit of a hit and hope, got a fluke and then won the match. And without, looking at the downside of it, he also threw away a winning lead in the next round. So how's he feeling about today? Is he still as confident as he was for that match?
They wouldn't have played many double session matches, I wouldn't have thought, if any. So it's going to be a different experience, and the first session might be about sort of feeling each other out. But I mean, if you can break the back of these double session matches in the first session if you get a decent enough lead. Let's
get a quick prediction on Table 2 then.
Table 2, I'm going to swap it around. I'm going to do Yize this time.
Yeah, I think the same. I think Yize might just turn him around, because he's a really improving player all the time as well, Yize. I like him.
And I suspect you're going to...
It's the start of a wonderful week in Manchester, home once again to the Tour Championship. Only the top 12 players of the season so far. The last event of the Players' Series, and of course, the last event before the World Championship coming up in Sheffield in a few weeks' time. Stephen Hallworth is alongside me for this afternoon's match between Xiao Guodong and Yize. And it's only been around since 2019, Stephen, but this has already established itself as one of the standout weeks of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with Stephen Hendry. He mentioned at the top of the show, this is a proper tournament, and he's absolutely right. 2 session matches, best of 19. It's a real test for the players, and it'd be a great week ahead.
And those long matches, I don't think there's any player who doesn't relish those. Every pro loves the chance to really get stuck into these longer contests.
Yeah, because, as a player, you sort of break them down, try and win your little mini sessions. There's just so many different dynamic to the actual match itself. It can go one way and then it can turn. It keeps it interesting. But for the players, I think you're right. It's a real test for them. And yeah, it's a great preparation for, of course, the big one in April.
And we've got great matches here on Table 2. Mark Williams, the defending champion, will be starting his bid to retain the title later this evening. Chance this week to become the oldest ever ranking event winner. So we'll see him playing against Ding Junhui, who he defeated in the Players' Championship in Telford just a couple of weeks ago. Williams playing in contact lenses for the first time. So that'll be coming up a little later today, and both of those matches to a finish tomorrow. Let's go to our MC then on this opening day. It's Gabby Partington.
Well, what a week we have in store with the 12 best players of the season in the field. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's the sportsbet.io Tour Championship here in Manchester. On Table 2, we kick things off with a player who's reached 2 ranking event finals already this season. He's making his Tour Championship debut. It's Yize!
我想起是风雪中飞去，遥遥数月四无期。孑然一挂烟雨，恰似无声的伏笔。浪中一心红颜。
And in this Chinese derby, he faces a player who won his first ranking event title this season at the Wuhan Open. It's Xiao Guodong!
Two of China's finest, 2 of the season's finest. Yize has been close twice in the 2024-25 campaign to getting his first title as a pro. Xiao Guodong has already crossed that line.
Thank you. The first frame. Who is that break?
Well, Yize went so close to defeating his compatriot when they met at the Players' Championship. And this is a whole different prospect, Stephen. 2 sessions over 2 days, best of 19 frames.
Yeah, very exciting for both, isn't it, really? We mentioned the World Championship soon coming up. This is now the perfect test, the perfect preparation for that. The last match, the last meeting, of course, in the Players' Championship just a couple of weeks ago went the distance. That deciding frame was a strange old affair, wasn't it? 2 massive flukes in it. Xiao Guodong coming through a 6-5 winner. I expect this one to go close.
Eight frames to be played here this afternoon. And they'll return to play to a finish tomorrow afternoon.
I suppose the only question mark for me over Xiao Guodong here, and I think he does come into this match as the favourite, albeit a marginal one. Has he been able to get over the hangover of the Players' Championship? Of course, we mentioned that 6-5 win that he had over Yize, but then the next round, he threw away a 5-2 lead, and I don't use that term lightly, but he certainly did throw away a 5-2 lead against John Higgins. Is he still hurt from that one? We'll soon find out.
A career revolutionised in the course of this season. Wonderful for him to have the opportunity to play in these events after so long as a member of Snooker's supporting cast, really. It's been one of the stories of the season, the sudden emergence of Xiao Guodong as a consistently successful player.
Three.
Recently turned 36. Moved up a place in the world rankings on the back of his performance in Telford, so he's now number 15, which is the highest he's ever been.
4.
It's a very important visit to the table now. He's got himself in amongst the business end of this table. Yes, they're long matches, first to 10, but the early exchanges are key. Just try and get a foothold in the match. Try and settle down as quick as you can.
Eleven.
I guess there's got to be a different mindset, hasn't there? Because the overwhelming majority of matches that you play as a pro, when you go out to play, you know that by the time you leave the arena, there's going to be a result one way or the other. Now, it's different in this situation. In fact, there won't be a result until tomorrow. So does that find its way into your thinking?
I think it does, because it certainly changes your preparation for a game. This is all about jostling for positions early on, and ultimately, we've got 8 frames in this session. You want to come out ahead, of course, put yourself in a good position going into that final session tomorrow.
Xiao Guodong, 12.
Well, that break came to a pretty abrupt conclusion there. The little cannon that he played a few shots ago from the black to the red went slightly wrong, and then was chasing his cue ball from there.
Yeah, it's a sort of opportunity you really want to have in the opening frame to stamp your authority early on.
1.
Well, when Wu got his first chance of their meeting a couple of weeks ago, made a century from it, looked very sharp early on, and certainly didn't fall apart or anything like that as the match went on, having led 2-0, but did seem to gradually fade just a little. Only 21 years of age. Reached that landmark just a few weeks after he was in the English Open final earlier in the season. Now ranked 22 in the world. He has been one place higher than that in the recent past.
But what an opportunity this is for him, Michael. You just mentioned they're 21 years of age, you know, that's no age at all. And he's got his whole career ahead of him. And to be even involved in this event so early on, what an achievement that is. You know, that the only players that are here are proper players, and he certainly is one. What a prospect for the future as well.
Yeah, and he's done it the hard way, hasn't he? Because the ranking system now is so weighted towards winning tournaments. It's very hard to get into the Tour Championship without actually winning a title. You've got to have consistent results over a number of tournaments. So all the greater credit to him for that.
So he's low enough on this black now. He's got the chance to maybe go into the pack of reds, but there isn't a guarantee that he'll land. Usually players like to go into the reds when there's a loose red at the back of the pack. Just needs to be careful here. He may choose to just drop on that single red, which he has done. Tried to play a little holding cannon to the two, and it may have gone wrong.
Touching ball.
The little shake of the head tells us it has.
22.
It was an awkward little one, that. He took a gamble.
Yize, 22.
So an early chance for both players. Very little really made from it in either direction. So Yize is looking for someone to talk to about how he might get the better of Xiao Guodong. He could do a lot worse than talk to you, Stephen, because you've got a great record against Xiao.
Yeah, you plucked that one out, haven't you? Yeah, the last two meetings I've played really good against him. You know, he's a player that plays he usually plays an open and attacking game, which kind of suits my style of play as well. And yeah, we've had a couple of good meetings, albeit they've gone the way to me, but he's a brilliant player, isn't he, Xiao Guodong? I've practiced a lot with him over the years down at the Ding Zhonghui Snooker Academy in Sheffield, and yeah, it's great to see him sort of enjoy some success this season, because it just goes to show that perseverance is so important.
Foul. Namas. Yize, 6. Back.
You know, inevitably, as a snooker player, there's a lot more down days than there are up days. You know, you're coming away from events disappointed, basically, unless you've won the tournament. So Xiao Guodong has certainly persevered. He's stuck with it, backed himself, and he's got his just reward this year.
But what have you seen in him this season? Has there been anything in particular you can point to as a player and say that's why he's now moved up that level?
Which, the cue ball?
I just think he's just kept knocking on the door. He's just kept asking the questions, and you just need one good week for everything to fall into place. You know, sometimes you need a little bit of rub at the right times, and of course you've got to be good enough to actually take the chances and stand up when it comes, and he certainly is. I think that's the key, the confidence that he's taken from it as well.
Leo Scullion helping out Desislava Bozhalova.
You good with that? Yeah.
Our officials for this afternoon. Well,
he bows his head as he walks back to his seat, because there's just a slight misjudgment First frame of this new cloth on this table. Very slippy, very slidey off the cushions, and you can see he's left the red at the back of the pack.
One.
The way he gets through the cue ball is just wonderful to watch.
8.
Yeah, technically he's
9.
brilliant, and you can see just that final backswing. He pulls right back to the hand, which in turn just allows him to create so much cue speed when he needs it. Can pretty much do anything he wants with the cue ball. And you see the tip right back to the thumb. Accelerates through the ball.
And hasn't that fallen nicely? So
16.
didn't make too much of his first chance. This is an obvious frame-winning opportunity.
70.
Yize, as we've been saying, has not won a ranking event yet. He's been in 2 finals, both of them this season.
Point.
If he reaches a 3rd here in Manchester this week, he'll become a top 16 player. And that, of course, would excuse him
Point.
World Championship qualifying. He'd go straight to the Crucible. If he does do that, it will mean Jack Jones will have to qualify a year after playing in the World Final.
Yeah, that little subplot at stake as well. I think
28.
the biggest Xiao Guodong fan in the world right now is Jack Jones.
29.
So Black will take the lead to 52. So he'll just need one more red. He was looking at it a long time. He was a bit straight on the black.
36.
Yeah, and he's just taking a second longer, isn't he, here? Just minding his business, just making absolutely certain that he takes this chance. Oh, and the red just
37.
wriggles in off that near knuckle. He'll be mighty relieved to see that one disappear.
Not quite enough there to repeat what he
44.
did when they met a couple of weeks ago by making an opening frame century.
$52.
He'll still be trying as hard as he can here to clear the table, just purely for table time as well. Try and lay down a marker to his opponent.
57.
The quicker you can adapt to the conditions, the more comfortable you
58.
feel out there.
$65. $67.
It's always going to be a bit of tension in the first frame of a big event, particularly when it's one you've not played in before, and it's a step up really in terms of your status in the game, and with that subplot going on of trying to qualify automatically for the Crucible. This, the ideal way to play that tension out of yourself.
$79. $85.
So just as he did when they met in Telford in the Players' Championship, Yize has made a fine start against Xiao Guodong, dominating the opening frame. With a break of 85, he leads 1-0. Yize made 5 50-plus breaks in his match against Xiao Guodong in the Players' Championship a fortnight ago. He's had one in the opening frame here. An 85, putting the 21-year-old into a 1-0 lead.
Thank you. The second frame, Xiao Guodong to break.
Talking a lot about the distance, Stephen, it being best of 19, but of course you have recent experience of a best of 19. The match that has got you back onto the Pro Tour for next season. So congratulations on that, and how are you feeling about it a few months from returning to the circuit full time?
I'm still living on cloud 9, Michael. It's a great feeling, yeah. You know, and it's not very often as on the amateur circuit that you actually get the chance to play a best of 19. So the fact that they did turn those Q Tour playoffs into a proper match to get onto the main tour was brilliant, and yeah, delighted to come through. And you know, just being involved in these sorts of events, albeit sat in the commentary box with your good self, just watching the top players, it just puts that little bit more hunger in you to want to get there yourself. One thing I will say, though, is the tour as a whole now, I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a professional snooker player. So, you know, it's growing globally all the time. New tournaments being announced, you know, prize money increasing, venues are so good now, the conditions are fantastic. It's a really exciting time for everyone. Now that red going over the corner pocket, he's desperate for some cover, which I think he's got. But can Xiao get to anything to plant onto that red? Oh, there you see there's a lot of traffic, and the cue ball right underneath the baulk cushion. Awkward cueing. This is a tricky little shot for Xiao to try and negotiate here. Yeah, the problem he's got is he needs to move that red or effectively get the cue ball pretty much exactly where it is now. If he gets any sort of contact to the red, he'll pot it, of course, but how does he get there? Now this may create a real stalemate. Xiao Guodong cleverly came down the top end of the table just to have a look that he wasn't leaving the side cushion across the black to then pop that red over the corner pocket. You can see the two reds beneath the black are obstructing it, so not really much Wu Yize can do here either. Wouldn't be surprised to see a re-rack.
Yeah, it's absolutely made for that. Yeah, and already it's been suggested. Yeah, the right decision, I think. There was an inevitability about the way that was going. And of course, now that you're going to be back on the tour full-time next season, Stephen, I was thinking there as we were watching the players coming out and listening to the walk-on songs, particularly Wu's, because it was so distinctive. What's going to be yours next season?
I don't know. You'll have to chuck some ideas in the mix, Michael. I'm completely open book. I'm open to suggestions. Something to get the crowd going, perhaps.
Listen, there's best part of 20 years between us. Any song I would suggest you would never have heard of, so don't be looking to me for advice.
No, it's great, isn't it? It's great to see, and that's what adds to the game now, that they really sort of make the players feel special, give them their moment in the light, the introductions and all that. It adds to it. It's good to see the players both agreeing to a re-rack there as well very quickly, because in years gone by we can see just prolonged exchanges for no reason really, cracking straight on with the next frame.
Our colleague Neil Foles some years ago was involved in the first frame in professional snooker ever to be re-racked twice. And because in those days they would take a while to get to that point, it meant so much time had elapsed by the time they started the frame for real.
Well,
Xiao Guodong will be wanting another re-rack after that break off to leave the red. Come right up the table. Wu Yize are able to pot it to the middle pocket. Natural angle to float the cue ball down straight on the black, and this is a good early chance. Well, what a mistake that could potentially be.
Yeah, as we've said, Xiao won when they met in Telford the week before last. But Wu has beaten Xiao in the only other meeting they've had earlier this season. And it was a very big match, semi-final of the Scottish Open.
Yize, 8.
But much like the chance he had early on in the first frame, he really hasn't taken that anywhere.
Yeah, one thing that is absolutely apparent in recent months, the tables are certainly playing tighter, and that certainly will be in the back of the player's mind.
One.
Yeah, Xiao didn't really get involved at all the first couple of frames in that last meeting a couple of weeks ago. Only potted 3 balls at the time he was 2-0 down. A couple of frames behind again at the interval at 3-1. But he grew stronger after that, led 4-3 and later 5-4. Wu's response was very good. He made his second century of the match to set up that decider. And we were talking about where they both fluked a red in the early stages. In Wu's case, though, it got nowhere. Xiao went on to make 73. Wonderful moment at which to deliver his highest break of the match.
Eight. 9.
Well, that may have just landed slightly awkward here. Yes, he is on this pink to the middle pocket. Awkward cueing. He needs an angle enough to just float it in and be on the red closest to his bridge hand. Can't do anything with the cue ball here. Yeah, he was okay. So the pink going at the back of the pack as close to its own spot without touching another ball is actually in Xiao Guodong's favour here. It just provides some access to the pack of reds from the blue should he need it. Before the pink was slightly detached, which made that shot unavailable. A couple of loose reds still in open play.
Xiao Guodong.
So a bit of deja vu going on here. Both players getting a chance early on, but making very little. Exactly the same as in the first. Wu got back in, don't want to make that 85 break, and he's straight back in here.
1.
Yeah, it looks anything but settled at the moment to me, Xiao Guodong. Now here is that chance. Now, will Wu Yize take it? He's absolutely A1 on this blue. The pack is available to go into. Just check for any obvious plants. Straight into the reds.
Six.
Very nearly planted another red into that left corner pocket, but it's just held up. He's on it, and he can now get to work.
7.
Always astonishes me,
30.
Stephen, when you see players winning big amateur events at ridiculously young ages. And he was World Under-21 champion, Wu Yize, when he was only 14. It's incomprehensible you could reach the level
14.
required to win a title like that at such an early age. So I've actually known about him for quite a few years already. Meanwhile, back in the present day, that has not fallen the way he wanted at all.
Yeah, that's probably the worst possible outcome for him. You know, the reds come across the face of the black, making that unpottable. The red by the blue as well means he can't get to the blue to the corner. Can he get enough on this to pot the pink? It looks very tight with that red being close to it. What a disaster, because look at the reds.
With 14.
The last thing Wu Yize wants to do is present an easy opening for Xiao Guodong. He probably is getting the impression that he's not settled, and he wants to try and keep the pressure on him for as long as possible. Another thing with these best of 19 matches, if you can get ahead and prevent your opponent from registering a frame for a period of time, it becomes a psychological battle for the person behind chasing, wondering, am I ever going to win a frame? Those little negative thoughts can play a difference. No, he's not left in many shots at all here in terms of returning that cue ball back to safety, so sometimes when you can't find a safety shot, it's better out to attack.
did attack. As you indicated, he was more or less forced into it. But it really couldn't have turned out much worse.
One.
In addition to that World Under-21 success, I think the time he really came to wider attention for the first time was when he was 15. He played John Higgins as a wild card at the International Championship, big ranking event in China.
7.
Higgins had just been in the World Final for the 3rd year in a row, so huge golfing experience to overcome, and he very nearly did it. He only lost in a decider. We've known the name Wu Yize very firmly since then.
8.
You can see from that last shot just how quick this bedcloth is running.
Yellow ball.
Intended for the cue ball to pull up north side of the baulk line. It hasn't done, but the fact that yellow is over the pocket was always an option for him. This is a chance now, a really good chance. He has to take it.
10. 11.
'Chance for Wu to lead 2-0. Both of the previous meetings they've had, one of them has gone 2-0 up,
17.
but ended up losing.
$18. 24.
So he's just doing the maths here. If he pops red, black, and then the red near baulk, the brown will be enough to leave Xiao Guodong needing snookers, although the red next to the blue will be pottable to this left corner pocket.
$25.
Well, he's overhit that by some weight. Played into a big area there, and it's landed a little bit awkward. As he glances up to the score, he knows that red-brown will be enough now. But it's the red that's his concern. Quite an acute angle into this middle pocket.
$33.
The green puts him 43 in front with 43 left on the table, so the brown puts him over the winning line with just the one snooker required. But he's missed it. So a lifeline for Xiao Guodong.
Yize, 33.
So 3 times he's been in play, but job's still not done. That said, so far this is starting more or less exactly the same way as the match a couple of weeks ago, with Xiao not really settled in the first couple of frames and Wu in control of things. It's the biggest cliche in snooker, Stephen, to say that it's very hard to be settled into a match until you've got a frame on the board. But I think we're seeing it in action here with Xiao.
Yeah, I can't tell you how true that statement actually is, particularly in a long game like this. You know, you want to get a foothold as early as you can, settle down and feel like you're a part of the match. You don't want to go 2-0, potentially 3-0, and then the one frame to play before the interval, 4-0, and all of a sudden it can spiral out of control. Of course, we're a long way away from that yet, and you would expect a player of Xiao to make some sort of impact in this match soon. But it's up to Yize to try and keep the pressure on.
Talked about Yize needing to get to the final to avoid World Championship qualifying, but Xiao Guodong has no such concerns. His crucible place is firmly under lock and key. Currently 14th in the provisional seedings for the World Championship. He won't want to drop any lower, because if you go to 15 or 16, well, that means you're playing either Judd Trump or Kyron Wilson in the second round if you both get through. You can't go any lower than 15, but even that would mean playing Trump. Another chance to get across the line in frame 2. Passes by.
Again, though, nothing straightforward left for Xiao Guodong. Not the sort of ball you want to have to play perfectly to get in. Not an easy chance either, with the red being on the side cushion.
You just feel he's attempted a number of shots like that. If he could just make one of them happen, that might be the thing that kicks him into life in this match. So it's frustrating times for him at the moment.
Yeah, as I say, he's looking for just 1 or 2 absolutely unmissable chances, really, to get going in his break.
who, as I said, was in the English Open final earlier in the season and was 7-1 down against Neil Robertson. Later trailed 8-2, but almost pulled off what would have been one of the all-time great final turnarounds. Only lost 9-7 in the end.
Yeah, that match for me actually was one of the games of the season. I remember watching it. I was in Bulgaria for a Q-Tour event and popped it on the evening, and if we didn't already know how good this boy was, we certainly
Xiao Guodong, 4.
got an insight into it against Neil Robertson in that final. What a remarkable comeback was on the cards. He played so well. He didn't look like missing a ball, did he, from 8-2? Just break after break. It was relentless, and it took really everything from Neil Robertson to get over the line in that match.
Yeah, and totally different experience then. A couple of months later, when he got to his second big final, the Scottish Open in Edinburgh, just before Christmas. Against Robertson, he was facing a much more experienced opponent, playing Li Pei Fan. It was the other way round, really, but he ended up losing again. Got off to a bad start, got right back into it, but Li pulled away towards the end.
Xiao Guodong, 4.
There's a little wry smile from Yize there, and I think it's one of embarrassment because he got further away that time. He's just completely misjudged the slide off this cushion.
Yeah, and clearly not a huge margin for error here. If he gets this wrong, he's going to leave a chance for Xiao to turn around this frame and level. Job done at the third attempt.
Now, if Xiao can get the cue ball past the black and back up to balk, he could put Yize in trouble again, but I'm not sure. He may have to catch that red too thick to get the cue ball. Needs to control the object ball as well. Yeah, he's okay.
Wu, all probability, knows he should have got this frame won by now.
Well, that's a really bad mistake. Another massive misjudgment. Got nowhere near to getting in behind that red to send it up the table and freeze the cue ball where the red was. And this red closest to the left middle, I think from right behind it he can drop that in. So this is now a big chance for Xiao. Key moments very early on in this game.
That is such a disappointment for Xiao. It was a frame that looked second favourite in most of the way. And Wu's tactical error presented him with a chance to turn it round and win a big early frame.
1.
So Wu gets the lead to 33. He's had more than one attempt at frame ball already in this second frame. Here's another one.
Where's this cue ball going to land though? It's just about pulled up.
6. Seven.
And that should confirm it.
7. Twelve. 14.
Now with the pressure off, he can flow a bit towards the end of frame 2.
70.
Strangely, this will probably feel like a big frame for Yize to win, because heart would have been in his mouth at one point
21.
there, seeing him give that half chance to Xiao Guodong, possibly feeling like he'd let the frame slip away, but not to be.
26. $32.
Xiao Guodong just hasn't got started yet. In spite of that, he might have levelled at 1-all. But it's Yize firmly in control in the early stages here in Manchester. He leads by 2 frames to 0. Xiao Guodong was 2-0 down to Yize in the first round of the Players' Championship just a couple of weeks ago in Telford. But he turned that one around to win, and that was a best of 11. This, best of 19 in the first round of the Tour Championship. So still plenty of time for him to get back into it.
Oh, disappointing length with his cue ball there. He's put Yize under no pressure with this safety shot. Although the same applies for Yize. Another very poor return, it has to be said, and not only that, failing to get the cue ball into baulk, he's actually left the red available for Xiao Guodong. The red far right will pass the pink into this right corner pocket. Again, though, not the sort of chance he wants to have to knock in to get going. It's by no means a sitter. This needs cueing well.
Just hasn't found his range yet from distance. Generally, the long balls he's been attempting have been asking a big question of him, though. It's not like he's been missing sitters.
Yeah, and all the while, that just adds to the confidence of Yize. He's a pretty fearless player anyway, but seeing his opponent miss that type of chance will just continue to relax him out there. Almost sends the message that my opponent just isn't ready to take the chance.
1.
Obviously, the big narrative going on, as we've discussed, is Wu trying to get into the top 16 and go straight through to the crucible stage of the World Championship. But even aside from that, the achievement of becoming a top 16 player after only 4 years on tour, I really can't say enough about that, because it's very rare nowadays for anyone to get into the elite that quickly.
Yeah, in an era of snooker where there are so many good players on the tour, the standard, in my opinion, has never been better.
5.
Yeah, it used to happen a lot more. You think of, well, some of our colleagues. Stephen Hendry took 3 years to become a top 16 player. Neil Foulds, I think, was the same. And Ronnie O'Sullivan got in 2 years. So did another of our colleagues, actually, Alan McManus. Alain Robidoux was a top 16 player after 2 years as well. But that was a very different era of the game. It doesn't tend to happen very often nowadays.
Yeah, and the reason for that, it goes back to the point you made earlier, Michael, about the fact that to rise the rankings quickly, you've got to go deep in a lot of tournaments, potentially even win events, and that's what makes it even more difficult.
Yize, 5.
So a bit of a let-off, really, for Xiao, having left that chance for Wu. And you talked, Stephen, about him really needing an easy starter. Red left over the middle. And he proved to be the start of him finally getting stuck into this match.
So the first thing he'll be looking at here, now he's in amongst them, is can he open the black in any way? Potentially got the option here to pot this pink, play a little holding cannon to the red and black. He doesn't have to play it, but it is an option. Again, he took a little bit of a gamble there for me, and not necessarily the correct decision. In fact, it turns out it certainly wasn't the correct decision.
7.
He's really, really awkward in amongst those balls.
It's joined in with that theme we've had over the last 10 years or so of players finally winning their first ranking event well into their career. Claimed his breakthrough win in his home country, the Wuhan Open, back in October.
Xiao Guodong, 7.
And again, Yize will be bouncing back to the table, having seen Xiao Guodong only score 7 points from that chance. And I think what we've just seen there is the fact that Yize feels like he's got Xiao Guodong under pressure, the fact that Xiao Guodong hasn't been able to take the chances that he's gifted him, that's just dictated his shot selection there. The red left of the blue is a shot that he would crunch in 10 out of 10 on the practice table, no questions asked. Opted for the safety shot to just, again, try and keep the pressure on. And once again, it's paid off.
Not so far the Xiao Guodong we've seen so much of through this season. It's not just been all about that win in Wuhan by any means. He's in the final of another big event, the Champion of Champions, and plenty of semi-finals and quarter-finals. Not happening for him yet today.
Just goes to show how clever Yize has become, that putting himself in the positions of playing these big matches, the experience he's gaining from them. A few seasons ago, he certainly would have taken that red onto the corner, but he's acknowledged the fact that his opponent's struggling and he wants to keep him down while he's got him down. Very mature thought process, certainly.
7. Thirty. 40.
If he wins this match today, Wu will move past £250,000 in prize money for the season. More than 3 times when he won last season.
Glorious chance now for Yize. Pink available into multiple pockets. Red's nicely spread. He doesn't need to concern himself with the black now. Just forget all about that red and black being tied up. There's enough reds in open play here that he can work off from blue and pink. He's got a great rhythm around the table as well when he gets in amongst them.
27.
Plays the game the right way.
28.
Well, there are players who have a certain amount of talent and just work and work and work and make the most of what they've got and eventually get to a prominent level in the game. But you can't achieve what Yize has done at such an early stage without having an enormous amount of natural talent. And when you ally that with all the hard work that these young Chinese players all have now,
35.
it's very hard to see how you can fail to make an impact.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. He's got a scary amount of natural ability, has Yize. If he keeps dedicated, keeps working hard on the practice table, really, he's got his whole career ahead of him to do so much damage in this game.
Well, we're watching 2 different generations, really, aren't we, of Chinese players. Xiao was one of the first to come over to the UK, which is what you've really got to do. It was a very different time then. He's spoken a lot about it, that felt quite isolated, had very little English, but it's different now for guys like Yize coming across to base themselves in England. There are so many Chinese players, so
49.
they have a ready-made group of practice partners and guys to pal around with, and I guess also keep alive their own culture from back home. So it is a good deal less challenging than it was when Xiao would have been starting out. Still, hurdles to overcome, obviously, moving to the other side of the world
55.
at such a young age.
$56.
He's taken these very well. The chance was there when he came to the table, but you've still got to stand up and take them. I think as well, someone like Yize would have looked at Xiao Guodong as almost
60.
An iconic figure, I suppose, in his snooker life. Looked up to him as a player and a person. You're absolutely right. It's not an easy thing for them to do, come over and base themselves here
61.
so far away from home. It's commendable, really.
So that was frame ball. The job not entirely done yet.
$65. $66.
So worrying times for Xiao Guodong. Yes, it's best of 19, so there's much more leeway, much more margin for error, and much more time to settle in. But he's using up a lot of it, and he's got to get into this match soon. He could be coming back tomorrow. Already facing a significant deficit. Makes no difference that he's missed the red. It's another frame on the board for Yize. He's taken all of the first 3 here. Leads Xiao Guodong 3-0 in this first round encounter at the Tour Championship. Xiao Guodong is having by far the best season of his 18-year professional career. But so far, he's having one of the worst days of that season. Really not got involved at all yet against Yize, who's had breaks of 85 in the first frame, 72 in the third, a couple of breaks in the 30s in between to take frame 2 as well. So it's all going the way of 21-year-old Wu Yize at the moment, leading by 3 frames to 0. The first round of the Tour Championship here in Manchester. Wu left the arena at the end of the previous frame, but he's returned to it now. And Xiao Guodong, Stephen, has got to get started soon.
Yes, and this is the beauty of these best-of-9 matches. This next frame is massive for Xiao Guodong. It's all about damage limitation now. Can he take himself to the interval 3-1 behind?
He was 3-1 down at the interval when they met in Telford, best of 11, and he turned it round. This, of course, much longer. Best of 19 over 2 days. It's not the first time we've seen Xiao Guodong 3-0 down in the first round of an ITV event this season. He was in that position in the Champion of Champions against Ronnie O'Sullivan back in November. And of course, that was only first to 4, and he hadn't potted a ball yet. The idea at that moment that he would not only win the match but go on to get to the final would have seemed laughable. That's what happened. He's not in that position today, but he hasn't potted many balls. Highest break for Xiao so far, still only 15. And that, arguably, even more stark. Wu with a big lead in that category. He made those 2 70-plus breaks.
Well, that was a good safety shot that Xiao Guodong played there. Controlled the object ball nicely, controlled the cue ball perfectly to cover that red near the brown. Yize only able to try and contain the situation now, not gain any sort of advantage himself. Well, he seems to be eyeing up this red, possibly taking it onto the left middle. Incredibly tough pot. Oh, that is superb.
1.
Well, we said he's got to get started soon. This is his chance to do it.
Yeah, every credit there for staying positive and very brave as well. Not an easy shot to take on at any stage of the match, particularly when you're 3-0 down.
He's just such an elegant player.
5.
He's been very pleasant to watch. It's all in keeping, really, with his demeanour off the table as well.
6.
Talked about Wu is enjoying by far his best season so far in terms of prize money. Well, in every measure, really. Xiao Guodong even more so. He's got a good chance with this and the World Championship to come of passing $500,000 for the season.
12.
That would be roughly half of what he'd earned in his entire previous 18 seasons on tour.
Well,
he's been very unfortunate to land where he has done. Again, playing the positive shot into the reds. He struck it nicely. He may have really fancied to have been on one perfectly there, and look at how they've all kind of covered one another.
Yeah, a couple of times he's just needed a bit of help from the balls in moments like that and not had it.
Xiao Guodong.
So that's only going to add to his sense of frustration. Got in with a lovely red, had a nice chance, but hasn't taken it anywhere. Still hasn't made a 20 break.
Yeah, and it's moments like that in frames when it becomes a bit of a psychological battle with yourself. You start to count yourself a little bit hard done by, and the balls aren't running for you. He's got to remain positive. Try not to let those negative thoughts creep into his mind. Oh, mind you, what a pot that was from Yize. That won't do Xiao Guodong's mood any favours at all.
Yeah, no negative thoughts at all there for the youngster.
Eight. Nine.
As we've said, it is a step up for him to be involved in an event like the Tour Championship. First time he's been in it, but he's never really seemed like a player who's affected in any way by the context or the situation. Talked about that English Open final earlier in the season when he was facing a heavy defeat but kept plugging away and almost pulled off the miracle. And you think back to that match he played when he was only 15 against John Higgins. Went out, made 70 odd in the first frame, and in that instance again came close to pulling off what would have been one of the biggest shocks we've ever seen.
$13.
I think someone like Yize, he already is great for the game, but he's going to continue to be very good for the game. He's going to continue to rise the rankings. That's pretty much a certainty, you feel. But I get the impression he's a bit of a character as well. Think back a few seasons ago, was it, when he was sporting a red mullet? Now, they don't make players like that anymore, do they? He swapped the red hairstyle for a red waistcoat, though, this time.
Yeah, he always looks distinctive in some way, doesn't he? And just the way he plays and his confidence. And I think with a lot of the Chinese players, we don't learn a lot about them.
27.
The first few years playing on the tour. Certainly when they're playing over in this part of the world. And as time grows and their confidence grows
20.
in the English language. And over here, we become a bit more aware of their personalities and warm to them a bit more. And he can even play with two hands, it seems.
Yeah, and that's something he's very, very good at doing, actually. I've seen firsthand Yize on the practice table in Ding Zhonghui's academy in Sheffield. He'll play sets against other professionals using just his left hand. I don't know many players that are even able to do that, never mind have the audacity to do it, but he's brave enough and he backs himself enough.
Yeah, the pink didn't go in clean, so he didn't get entirely where he wanted to be with the cue ball. And he's had a couple of big breaks this afternoon. He's also had some decent chances that haven't ended up amounting to much. That'll be the frustrating thing for Xiao. If he does find himself 4-0 down at the interval, he'll be aware that it's not like he's been frozen out by someone who's just turned every chance into a frame winner.
Yeah, it's a good point you make, because as a player, it's hard to accept, of course it is, but if your opponent just flies and doesn't miss a ball and just blows you off the table, break,
possible, please.
You can kind of accept that. You know, go to the next session, try and move on. They had a good session and try and rectify things later on, but you're right, he has had a few chances, Xiao Guodong, and that was probably what will be the most disappointing part of it. The fact he hasn't been able to take them.
Look there at Desislava Bojalova from Bulgaria, our referee. Just quietening down the crowd on the other table where they've just gone to the interval.
One.
So finally, he's knocked in a long one.
One.
Yeah, and he struck it very well, considering now. What's the angle like on this black? What can he do with it? Well, he's tried to get into the reds, and that is a beautifully played shot. Probably shot of the match so far from where he was and what's happened before. Brilliant piece of cueing from Xiao Guodong. Maximum topspin, arc the cue ball round 2. Need a little bit of luck, but he got it. Great shot.
I think he was due it. The balls haven't given him a huge amount, to be fair, so far in this match. Which, of course, they never do when you most need it.
9.
Now, is that the little bit of inspiration that he was looking for? The red at the top of this little cluster of 4 may pass to the left corner pocket. Xiao just having a little glance at that. There you see from the overhead it will do. If he can leave himself on it in such a way, it may provide a free chance to just flick the other 3 into play as well. Well, no angle to do that here, but can pop this red and leave himself nice on the pink to play a little brush cannon to them.
50.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, surely he's on this red.
21.
Surely he's not stuck to the red closest to the cue ball. You can always tell from the body language of a player if they're on it. At first I wasn't sure, but he soon made us aware that he was able to pot this.
22.
So he's going to need all the remaining reds here.
$28.
So he was 3-1 down at the mid-session interval when they met in Telford earlier this month. He was a much improved player after the break. If the next few shots go his way, he'll be in the same position again this time, and of course doesn't need to necessarily turn it around and be ahead at the end of the session. So still plenty of time if he can get things happening soon, but that has not happened the way he wanted at all.
Wow.
Xiao Guodong 36.
That is incredible.
Who is 4?
He made such a good decision to leave himself low on that red to try and promote the red. It was a free shot, but to catch the red so thin and going off. Well, what have you done to deserve this, Xiao? The run of the ball is certainly going against him.
Maybe it's just massive payback for the good fortune he had in the decider when they played the last time.
Well, how much would this hurt if Yize can somehow pinch this frame, go to the interval 4-0? You can see the frustration starting to creep in for Xiao Guodong. Not really given much thought to that shot. Not much thought to the escape. Trusting to luck, and he's had some.
Keep quiet, please. Would you please close the door? Yeah, just the door.
There's a crowd noise coming from one side of the arena, an open door on the other.
About that. Probably they will walk in the place, yeah.
All happening at big moments in this mini session as it comes to its conclusion.
Yeah, and this is a massive shot, of course. Yize didn't play a very good shot at all. He's left this red cuttable to the left middle pocket. Yeah, that's a very good pot.
Yeah, it was always going to be running into the blue, and of course things can go wrong when you bring that into the equation, but it's come up nicely. I really feel he should get it back to 3-1 now. If he can pop yellow and green, he'll be over the line.
I think he'll be happy enough to head to the interval 3-1 down. He probably knows himself he's certainly not been good enough to compete with Yize just yet, but chance to possibly head to the practice table, hit a few balls, try and find a bit of rhythm.
Yeah, and as we were saying, it's not like Yize has just turned every chance into a frame winner. He had an opportunity early in this frame, so Xiao knows that if he can step up his level a bit, he can still come out of this first session in a decent position And he's going to come out of the first mini session, having got a frame on the board.
Xiao Guodong.
Yize still in front then, but now by just a couple of frames. 3-1 at the mid-session interval.
Alan McManus, Masters champion, pundit, player extraordinaire. Here come your Player Series quiz questions for 2024. Really looking forward to this. Who's your snooker hero?
It was Steve Davis. Yeah, when I was a kid. Yeah, Steve Davis.
Who is snooker's pantomime villain?
Ooh, maybe Quinton Han was one back in a few years ago, because he was always up to something and he was a good player. I'll say Quinton.
Hendry or Doherty?
Kevin.
Oh, brilliant.
I've got both of them.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, of course, of course. What's your favourite British venue away from the Crucible?
Llandudno's a nice place. I like Llandudno.
It is beautiful, isn't it? And a great venue as well. What's your favourite international venue?
Again, there's a few there. I mean, Dubai was brilliant back in the day. I loved Dubai because we had a golf day and we played. So Dubai was awesome.
Whose walk-on music do you really like, other than your own?
It's got to be Bob Milkins. Is it the cider drinker
Yes.
thing? That's awesome. It just fits him like a glove, doesn't it?
Who's the funniest person in snooker?
There's a few. Do you know this one? People will be surprised about this. I think Anthony McGill's funny. He's a funny lad. But you need to know him. You know, one of those. Anthony's really funny. I'm going to say Anthony.
And who's the funniest person on the ITV team?
Well, for a few, I'm going to say Kendo. I call Kendo Nagasaki, innit? I call him that. I'm going to say Ken, partly because of the machine gun laugh.
Who was the biggest influence on your career?
I'm actually going to say myself, which is a bit of a non-answer, I think, but I didn't really have a massive, like, over a period of years. I kind of figured it out on my own as I went, like from 16 to turning professional. It was pretty much on my own.
Who's your best friend in snooker?
All the Scottish boys, I love them to death. I've known them a long time. I try to be friendly with all the gang. And I guess we are. I mean, I'd regard all the boys here as good friends, aye.
If you hadn't become a snooker player, what do you think you would have been?
I like the wide open spaces, maybe a deer stalker.
Who's your favourite sportsman or sportswoman?
Oh, that's easy for me, Sevi. Sevi Ballesteros, yeah. Golfer, sadly not with us, but Sevi.
Favourite holiday destination?
Well, anywhere in the Western Isles in Scotland, pretty much. Inner Hebrides rather than outer, but that's pretty vague. You know, like, I do love Arran, Isla, Jura.
If there was a film of your life, who would play you?
Robert Carlyle, Glaswegian. I actually see him now and again. He lives in the West End of Glasgow, and you see him cutting around, you know. And he's like a cool guy. He was Begbie in Trainspotting, you know. So
he's a brilliant actor.
Fantastic.
Can you think of anything embarrassing that's happened to you, either connected to snooker or elsewhere?
I was actually playing Stephen Hendry, and we were playing at the Guildhall Preston, and someone started snoring. And honest to God, they actually, it was like really, really, and so we had to stop. You can guess why they were snoring. Me, do you know what I mean? Playing, but that's true. Yeah, that was a bit weird. I wasn't embarrassed, but they were.
In your opinion, who's the greatest match player we've ever seen?
I mean, you could toss a coin between Higgins and Selby, I think. I think I'll give it to John, just.
Best long potter?
So probably Sean Murphy.
Best cue action?
Yeah, Sean's got a really nice rhythmical cue action. Jack Lazowski as well, yeah. Probably say Sean.
Who, in your opinion, has the greatest, tightest safety game?
It has to be Mark Selby, for sure.
Who's the best with the rest?
I think it is Sean, yeah, Sean Murphy.
Who's got the strongest mentality?
Jeez, I'll tell you what, Judd's up there. Not many people talk about him in that way. Yeah, I think Judd. I've beaten him in a couple of finals that went all the deciders that would have just hurt so much. And he'll come back and win the next event or the one after that, you know. And not many people are capable of doing that after such a big setback. So for that reason, I'll probably say Judd.
Who's the greatest break builder?
Ronnie O'Sullivan.
In your opinion, is there one supreme snooker tactician, somebody who, no matter what the context, no matter what the pressure, nearly always finds the right shot and executes with perfection?
Yeah, I think, again, you could toss a coin between Mark and John. I think Mark probably would edge it because he's probably a fraction more conservative out of the two, so would be less likely to take a risk. So I'd say Mark, but just like, you know, you could pick either one.
Wu Yize led Xiao Guodong by 3-0 in this all-Chinese first-round match in the Tour Championship here in Manchester. He might have led 4-0, but couldn't take his chance, let Xiao back into it. And the order of the two compatriots has closed to 3-1 at the interval. Just waiting for the two players to return. Wu Yize and Xiao Guodong are now in fact returning to the arena. Change alongside me, Stephen Hallworth has gone off for a break, and Joe Perry, the Welsh Open champion of 3 years ago, is alongside me. And we saw when they played in the Players' Championship, Joe, that from 3-1 down at mid-session, Zhao really did kick on the resumption. So he'll be looking to do the same again today.
Yeah, afternoon, Michael. Yeah, he'll need to play better, won't he, than he did in them first 4 frames. Again, a slow start, just like in Telford. But the beauty of these long matches is you can afford to have a slow start in these longer 2-session matches. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs after the interval.
Yeah, same score as it was mid-session in Telford. It was 3-1 to Wu on that occasion as well, and Zhao turned it around to win. And of course today, he doesn't have to turn it around to win, just to make sure he's in a decent enough position going into the final session tomorrow.
Yeah, these 2-session matches, obviously you're looking to win the session, aren't you? You know, you take 5-3 at the start, but you feel that if someone can open up a 6-2 or 7-1 lead, that's pretty much the match almost broken right there. So a lot for both players to really knuckle down in this next 4 frames.
Wu Yize, much as he did in that meeting a couple of weeks ago, got off to a fine start. Had a century in the first frame in the match in Telford. Didn't quite manage that in the first frame today, but did have an 85, a 72 in the third. Needed quite a few chances to win the frame in between. As I said, it might have been 4-0, and Zhao really had to dig in to open his account in that 4th frame.
Yeah, that previous miss from Wu Yize it's just pushed that red up into the other half of the table. Could lead to an awkward frame now with that red there. One of the players can't move that quickly. Could see a lot of safety played down this end of the table for the time being.
I think we may have touched on this in Telford, Joe. Xiao Guodong, one of the many players in the last decade or so to finally win their first ranking title after many, many years on tour. You know what that feels like, and is it a sense of it's all been worth it once you've actually done that? And I was going to say got a trophy in your hand, but famously there wasn't one in the one you won. But just to plug away for all those years when you finally managed to cross the line and be the last man standing, is that one of the main feelings that it's all been worth the battle?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think when you first start playing snooker as a young young boy or girl, you play it because you love it, you love the game, and then as you sort of progress and get a bit better, you want to become professional, and then obviously ultimately after that you want to be successful. And I think when you don't win quickly as a pro, you sort of, your thoughts and prospects change, and then when that, like you say, that day finally comes along, it is a sense of relief, sense of pride, lots of emotions actually. And then it can sort of like one or two ways. You can either really enjoy it and really knuckle down and want to do it again and repeat the feelings, or maybe just think, well, there you go, I've done it now, I can sort of rest easy.
And of course you did go on to do it again 7 years later. I guess the big difference really is for someone like you, by the time you won a ranking title, you'd already done a lot in the game, you'd almost been in a world final, done well in a couple of the other big events and had big semi-final runs. So I think everyone knew you were someone who could win a title. It wasn't necessarily thought, perhaps, about Xiao Guodong.
Yeah, my name often cropped up in that horrible conversation of who's the best player not to have won a ranking event. I was sort of branded around. There was a few of us at the time. Ryan Day, he managed to win one before I did, I think, and then other people like Anthony Hamilton and various others. Lots of great players that couldn't quite get over the winning line. And obviously we still have that conversation now, don't we, with young Jack Lazowski, who I still can't believe he's not won a tournament yet, but it just goes to show how hard it is to actually win on tour.
I think you could make the case now, if you're having that conversation, that maybe the man at the table now is alongside Xiao, his compatriot as well. Perhaps vying for that role now. Lazowski having fallen away a little bit over the last year or two.
Yeah, well, as predicted, that shot a little while ago from Yize where the red landed over the right middle pocket. It has made this frame a little bit awkward, and now you can see there's 4 reds in the other end of the table. Yeah, this was the shot. It was a pretty insignificant attempt, really. He didn't really try and do anything, but the red just landed in an awkward position, which made safety not as straightforward as normal. That's why we've got this slightly different kind of frame, but Xiao Guodong, has he seen something here that could potentially open this frame up? Well, he did. He found a red that was potable, but didn't get it, and what was he left?
Yeah, potable, but testing, and a particular test, I think, when your potting confidence has maybe taken a bit of a hit through the afternoon.
One.
So, finally red's potted in this frame. He just about managed to hold the cue ball there. He couldn't have hit it much softer, just to show how fast these tables are. Yeah, and that's a nice pot on the yellow. He controlled the cue ball again. I know they've played 4 frames, but they're still probably just coming to terms a little bit with the table and how quick it's playing. It does look extremely fast. In previous 2 shots he's played, he's hardly put any weight into the cue ball and it's just run on. So again, he's still not in prime position here. Another difficult pot he's faced with. Looking at the longer one, which is, I think, would be a better choice of shot for him, being such a good long potter, but it's not easy. Yeah, it's safely in. He is one of the game's top long potters now. Because he's so young and quite new to the scene, he's not really getting the accolades yet, but I think in years to come we'll be talking about him. In the same sentence as some of the other great long potters in the game. It's truly a strength he has.
And he's underlined it so far this afternoon. He's been well ahead of his more experienced opponent in the long potting category. Xiao has been struggling from distance, although, as we were saying, not missing sitters
10.
as such. Just not been making anything. Did have one good long ready knocked in shortly before the interval.
Yeah, I like that shot. Played that nicely. Didn't overhit the cue ball there. Controlled cannon, and you can see he was always going to be on the red to right corner, and he's brought another 2 or 3 reds into play, so good scoring chance now for Wu Yize.
$18.
He's just going around to see if these 2 reds in this little cluster of 5 is a plant to the right corner. That would really help. He has got another couple of loose reds he can play on, but if they are a plant into the right corner, that would really open the frame up.
26.
Yeah, he did have a couple of big breaks, as we were saying, before mid-session. But he's not been taking all his chances by any means. There were plenty of other opportunities he's had that he's not made a great deal from this afternoon, so still some hope for Xiao in that respect. And there it is. Another chance passes him by.
Oh, it just goes to show you how quickly it can change. He was absolutely perfect on the previous black, and he still should have potted that red, but it was so much more difficult than it needed to be. And it was just the careless positional shot prior to that. Should have been straighter on that red. It's them little things that just make a difference. You know, he's got a chance to push on and win this session quite comfortably. And little mistakes just stunt your progress.
One.
Oh, the nice pot, but he didn't pot it cleanly. That's why the cube wasn't really travelled to where he was expecting. If he'd potted that red clean, it'd have been nicely on yellow, brown or green. There you can see, he just potted it into the thick part of the pocket, took the pace out of the cue ball. It's not a straightforward safety shot now. Can't leave the cue ball on the baulk cushion, because he just basically he's going to be snookering himself the next time he comes to the table.
Color, please. Which one? Brown ball. Thank you.
Yeah, you wouldn't normally see a safety shot played like that, but the red next to the yellow caused that situation. Well, again, he's looking at the 2 reds. 2 reds in that cluster of 4. I'm going to put one of the outside red onto them too. This will be some shot. Oh, it's so risky. If it is a plant, he doesn't take it on. He's got to make sure he gets cover on it. Doesn't want to leave it for his opponent. Well, in the end, he couldn't see a way to refuse it and took it on. It was always going to be difficult. It shows sign of intent. He's out there to win and play aggressive. What it has done is given Xiao Guodong a decent opening now. Chance to reduce the arrears again in this frame, and there's quite a lot of loose reds there. Only a couple awkward ones.
And having struggled a bit this afternoon, been 3-0 down, and seen his opponent have a good early chance in both of the next two frames. If he can end this one only 3-2 behind, in a way, he's going to feel fantastic.
6. Seven.
We were saying earlier that prior to Xiao Guodong making his big breakthrough by winning the Wuhan Open earlier in the season,
14.
he wasn't being talked about as someone who was a tournament winner in waiting. I don't think that was ever really said about him. And yet, there was a time, around about a decade ago, where he was threatening to get into the top 16. Been in a big final in China. The
15.
first ever all-Chinese ranking final, in fact. Lost to Ding Junhui. And then he sort of faded again and went back into the pack. I've seen some of these guys who have come through and finally won a tournament well into their careers, and it's sort of their last hurrah. They don't go on and do a great deal after that. Well, he's already built on it to a great extent. As we were saying earlier, he's been
20.
in another final soon after that in the Champion of Champions. In between, he'd almost been to the final of the International Championship. Just one frame away from doing so. And overall this season, he's been in the semi-finals of 5 big events. That's not something that I think anyone, probably to be fair, even including him, would have seen in his immediate future at the start of the season.
Plenty
of quarterfinals as well, and in fact, if he does win this match, he'll have been in the quarterfinals of all 3 Player Series events this season.
So going along
26.
nicely here, this red. This opens up the path for the 2 reds next to the pink into this left corner. Looks
27.
like both of them reds pot comfortably. Just stun up past the 3 balls now, and the choice of either red. Yeah, so the black takes him into a 2-point lead. So he's going to need all 4 remaining reds.
34.
As you can see, it's not going to be straightforward. A couple of awkward reds, definitely. It doesn't be too straight on this black. I don't think the red next to the pink pots into the right middle. No, it didn't, but he's played that nicely. So now, this is where the hard work really starts now. He's got to make sure he leaves the correct angle on the next colour to bring the red off the cushion.
And this is now his highest break of the match so far.
43.
Well, he had quite a bit of good fortune at the start of the decider when they met in the Players' Championship in Telford. How do you like this for a repeat performance, Joe?
Well, that was incredible, wasn't it? He totally took his eye off the pot there to try and get the cannon, which he did actually get, and he got it nicely, but... Oh, the pink fluking in off the black. What a piece of good fortune that is for Xiao Guodong.
Yeah, they both fluked a red at the start of the decider in Telford, but Wu's got him nowhere. Xiao's gave him a chance, which he took to win frame and match.
So, just like the previous shot, when he potted a red, he needs to get a nice angle on the colour to try and bring the last red into play. Yeah, that looks okay. Pot the black now. This bottom cushion, just nudge the red. Doesn't want to play this too hard. Try and play a real clever shot here and just try and nudge the red pottable into the middle pocket. Expect him to make contact with the red, but really make the correct contact. Well, that's a wonderful attempt, and I think it's just
57.
about okay. I think the red's pottable, but 25 the difference, so he's going to need a colour with this red to get him into snooker's required stage in this frame. Yeah, good job. So the shot on the black was exceptional. Wonderful shot.
And with that, he does get it.
62.
To one snooker required, and that means there's still a bit of hope for Wu because he will be coming back to the table here.
Xiao Guodong, 62.
So when you're on the colours, the difference between only needing one snooker and even needing two is huge, because really how many frames do you see won by players who need two snookers on the colours? But in this situation, it does happen.
Yeah, Xiao Guodong, he just dropped his head there. It was an easy snooker in behind the pink, but he was also looking to put the black on the cushion, which he's achieved. So the trouble is with that, having not got the snooker, he's given Wu a chance here. Oh, he's tried to do everything there. He's tried to get the snooker and free the black from the cushion. Yes, it's a snooker, but you expect players of this quality to get out of one cushion escapes. Wow, how about that for a shot? Managed to get the cue ball in behind the black. There wasn't a lot of room there. This one's a little bit tougher than the previous. So this frame not over just yet. This isn't a straightforward hit. 2 cushions, but there's plenty of room in and around that yellow. Yeah, good escape. It's one of the reasons you don't see many frames won from snooker's required frames. Players are so good these days at escaping from snookers.
So this now, the longest frame of the match so far, having just gone past 26 minutes.
Two. Yize. 2.
If you can see this out, I think Xiao Guodong can put his struggles from earlier in the match behind him. Played a good 4th frame in the end to get that one under his belt, and now he's weighed in with a decent-sized break for the first time in the match. Hadn't made anything higher than 36 prior to this frame. It feels like we're watching the same match again, really, that we watched between them in Telford, where it was 3-1 at the interval, and Xiao had struggled early on and gradually played his way into form. Indications that the same might be starting to happen here. Well, that's not bad.
Yeah, that was another very well played shot, wasn't it? Controlled that perfectly. The long sort of stun, soft screw. And again, not a straightforward hit. Yeah, and if you are trying to get snookers, the best thing you can do is try and get the object ball away from a cushion into the middle of the table. Makes the target so much smaller when a ball's near a cushion. Much easier to gain access to it. So he managed to get out of the last tricky snooker for Yize. This one again, slightly more difficult. Yeah, very good. Pretty much got that full ball. So you can see the problem facing Wu Yize is not laying a snooker. It's laying one difficult enough for Xiao Guodong not to be able to escape from.
Three. With 3.
Coming up on 10 minutes now since Xiao potted frame ball. But there was always going to be a bit more play in the frame, wasn't there? Because didn't have a chance to pot the yellow. And that will be the end of that now. The balls didn't give Xiao Guodong a great deal in the first 4 frames. They served him up a huge slice of good fortune in that frame. He took full advantage, and he's only one behind now. It's 3-2.
Thank you. Frame 6. Xiao Guodong to break.
Feels like a very different match now. He was all at sea early on, was 3-0 down. But right back in it now. Just one behind.
Errors are starting to creep in now for Wu Yize. That was another one. Caught the red too thin. May not have left anything straightforward here for Xiao Guodong, but cue ball should have been deep in bog. Yes, going back to that last frame, he did get a timely fluke. But remember how he got in for that break. Wu Yize went for a very ambitious free ball plant, which let Xiao Guodong in for that break in the previous frame. So, got to remain patient and focused.
Foul.
Well, how's this red going to finish? He missed that by an absolute country mile. Lucky, really, that the cue went in the pocket, and if that red has travelled far enough up the table, you can count himself very fortunate there. You could see he hit totally the wrong side of that ball. He was praising him on his long potting in the previous frame. because he is exceptional at it, but when you're kept off the table for long periods, it gets more and more difficult. Oh, Xiao Guodong thinks he can just drop this red into the middle. He won't be playing this with much pace. Well, he hit it harder than I thought he was going to. It made the pot more difficult. So Yize, if he can knock a red in and get going here, he can count himself a little bit fortunate, because when you miss a ball by that distance, like he did on his previous visit to the table, count yourself lucky if it doesn't cost you any points.
Yeah, one of those where the miss almost gets rewarded for being such a wide miss. If he'd missed it by a lesser margin, might have been more likely to have left that red much easier for Xiao. So as we've said, he's had a couple of big breaks in the match, Wu, but there's plenty of chances that have passed him by as well, where he's left the table quite soon. As we were discussing in the early part of this afternoon's session, Yize needs to reach the final here this week to become a top 16 player for the first time and qualify automatically for the World Championship. He has played at the Crucible before, made his debut a couple of years ago. Was in the running early on, only one behind at 4-3 against Neil Robertson. Now there's a clash of great long potters. But he didn't win another frame after that. Robertson played really well. He had 4 centuries in the match. Didn't qualify for the Crucible last year. He was beaten by his fellow rising Chinese star, Si Jiahui, in the final qualifying round. Then it's another case of what we were talking about there. He's had plenty of chances where he's got himself into unexpected trouble quite quickly, and it's all come to an abrupt end. There's another one.
One.
Yeah, chances starting to come along much quicker now for Xiao Guodong, but he didn't play that one very well. Completely the wrong side of the blue. It looks like he's going to have to get into the pack of reds here. Yeah, again, bought around from the previous shot. The red over the pocket. Wanted to be top side of the blue, and that was a lovely target to go into had he been the right side of the blue, but he wasn't. And again, not punishing Yize for his mistakes.
Xiao Guodong 6. Namas. Xiao Guodong 4.
I think that's about as far short as you'll see a player come on a shot like that all season.
Yeah, the tables are fast, aren't they? But I was asking a little bit too much there from Yize. He had the line right, so just a bit more pace on this one.
Second.
You just get the feeling here that Xiao Guodong's starting to get a real grip on this match. He's just getting Wu Yize in a little bit of trouble now, forcing mistakes, and there's another one. But again, fortunately for Wu, the cue ball's found the pocket. Much better to do that than wobble in the jaws and stay down this end of the table. But he's starting to make mistakes now, forced or unforced. I feel this is, I know there's a long way to go, first to 10, but this is a big frame in this match, I think. Still a possibility, of course. Wu Yize could lose this session, which seemed almost impossible at 3-0.
One. Xiao Guodong, one. Foul. Anonymous. Xiao Guodong, 4.
We'll have another go at that one. He's got to make quite a big change to where he hits this first cushion. He's looking to play off 3 cushions and come in behind the red 2 left of the pink. He misjudged that one by quite some distance. He's going to have to get closer to the jaws of this left corner pocket if he wants to land in behind that red.
Foul.
Oh, that was unlucky.
Xiao
Wasn't it?
Guodong, 4.
Actually, he made the change and got it absolutely perfect that time, the line. Just a fraction short.
I said the shot earlier was about as far short as you'll see a player come all season. I think that one was about as close as you'll see anyone come without making contact. So time for another go.
Foul. Anonymous. Xiao Guodong, 4. Back. Guodong.
He was further away with his third attempt than with his second, but at the 4th time of asking, he's got it done. sort of shots he was getting earlier on. It's just all gone a bit flat for Wu Yize at the moment.
You never really know where the balls are going to land when you play that kind of shot. But just looking to get that cue ball close to the ball cushion. Oh, it's Wu Yize. I think these two reds are potable into this left corner. Well, there wasn't, and again, it's just showing little signs of just getting a bit impatient, desperate to get back into that flow he was in the beginning of the match, and he's definitely lost his way last few frames. A few errors creeping in and a couple of dubious shot choices.
So this, about as long and protracted an exchange of this nature as we've had in the whole match.
One.
That could bring an end to it. Well, only temporarily. Needed that cue ball to pull up a lot sooner if he was to make anything from there.
Rainbow. Yize. One. 1.
Oh, great shot that was. Wonderful piece of cueing.
Yeah, he missed a lot of long balls early on, but as we were saying, most of them were quite testing. But now he's 3 or 4 really good long pots in his resume. Again, as we've been saying, it's all very similar to the match in Telford a couple of weeks ago. After a tough start, he actually sort of played his way into some sort of form. Oh, but that is the complete opposite, isn't it? That is so disappointing for him. And finally,
Xiao Guodong 1.
and all that patience yield a good chance off the back of that excellent red. And then he goes and does this, Joe. Just about the worst miss of the match.
Yeah, it was an awful shot, wasn't it? Look where the cue was finished as well. It was just a horrible shot. He played that. Yeah, I suppose the only good thing from Xiao Guodong's point of view was that he left that red missable. And Yize has definitely gone off the ball here. He needed something easier than that to get in and get going again. He's struggling out there.
Be quiet as possible, please.
Neither player's on top form. But you feel Xiao Guodong, if he can just cut them easy misses out, this match is definitely, well, this session is here for the taking. Yize seems to have lost his way completely. Well, so Xiao Guodong can cut the misses out. They've both got to cut the misses out, haven't they? But this is what can happen. Sometimes you can see a game of snooker where both players bring out the best in each other, and others they can bring out the worst. Gets a bit catching out there. And that's what's happening at the moment. You need one player just to break the cycle and just get going again.
1.
The frames they're not open, are they? They're not easy scoring opportunities. It's all a bit messed up. The table's a bit awkward. Pink's not where it should be. Black's on the side cushion. So even when you get in, it's not a clear opportunity to make a big break. Well, knocking this pink in will help. Get it back on its own spot. Won't be available into all pockets, but it'll be available into at least 2 or 3. I won't have to worry about the black here. Just wants a series of
10.
Easy pots, just easy pots, simple positional shots just to get his rhythm back, because he's definitely lost it at the moment.
11.
Yeah, when they played in the first round in the Players' Championship, he'd been a couple of frames ahead at the interval, and then things started to go against him and needed to produce something big even to prolong the match, and he did with that century that took them to a decider in Telford. So he needs to rise to the moment here again, because the match he was looking pretty strong in. It's been slipping away from him a bit.
Yeah, he doesn't have to, but I wonder if he'll just try and just bring that red out on the side cushion, because he will need it at some point. Yeah, good shot, good thinking. That's a clever little shot. That all Also, that meant he could just play that shot a bit firmer. That red taking the pace out the cue ball.
Yeah, and a situation that, as you pointed out, Joe, wasn't looking too promising a few minutes ago with the way the balls were sitting. Looks very different now. Still a bit of figuring out to be done. Oh, and then he's gone and missed that. It's just one of those matches. 31. You can't really rely on anything.
No, he sort of just didn't quite get through the cue ball there, just decelerated and missed the red thin. Again, that's just not being absolutely in rhythm. And his reaction was significant there. He doesn't want to give anything away, Yize, but that was clearly disappointing for him, and he let everyone know.
1.
Yeah, and missing a shot in that way was so out of character for him, because I always praise him for being so good at the way he gets through the ball, but not that time.
Yeah, so the problem is still the same for Xiao Guodong. Can get on this open red, but he's not going to be able to get close to it. And the two reds together are the key to winning this frame. And again, doesn't have to play
6.
a cannon on this occasion, because he won't have know exactly where the cue was going to finish, but it's a possibility. Pot the red and bring the two reds into play. Well, I think he did play it.
7.
His face tells us he's a bit disappointed he didn't get a slight kiss there on the outside red of the two. Looking just to glance the red on the left-hand side on the way back. So just a snooker now.
Xiao Guodong 7.
Well, if Xiao can win this frame and get level at 3-all, he puts him in a strong position psychologically, because really at 3-0 down, the way it was going, I would have thought he could be coming back tomorrow facing a very big deficit. Well, if he wins this frame, the very worst he can be is 5-3 behind, which I think would have seemed quite attractive after he lost those first 3 frames.
Foul. Namas. Xiao Guodong 4. 3 ball.
Foul and a miss called, but also 3 ball called. So that was an error. Clearly, it wasn't a difficult hit. Chance to Xiao Guodong now. Again, the red closest to this cushion is going to be the problem ball, especially with the black not being on its spot. But you expect Xiao Guodong to not have too many problems here. Just got to be careful with this next positional shot. He wants to be close when he pots the final red. Needs to be quite close to it. Nice angle, so it doesn't have to hit it too hard. So these next two positional shots are the key to this frame.
8.
That's not ideal. That's gone wrong already.
Sort of turning into one of those situations now where it's basically got to be a scrap for every ball, every point, trying to get yourself in as decent a position as you can going into the last session and hope to come back and play a good deal better tomorrow, because neither of them really shining at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's just looking now to see where he can leave the cue ball. Not to pot the red, but to lay a good safety shot and gain control in this frame. No ambition here of getting on the red to pot it.
This is now our second half-hour frame in a row.
14. Xiao Guodong, 14.
So that safety shot from Xiao Guodong has forced the mistake. This red's potable. It's not a gimme by any means, but if it goes in, definite chance to finally win this frame.
One.
Again, I say that, but he's landed pretty much nowhere. Yes, he's got the green down into this corner pocket if he wishes, but he's not going to be able to get too close to the yellow unless he puts some work on the cue ball. So he may opt to just lay another snooker here. There's still no idea, Michael, who's going to win this frame.
Xiao Guodong, 1.
Well, we may be a little closer to knowing in a moment. It's another one that hasn't worked out particularly well for Wu. Well, wouldn't have been certain to win the frame from it by any means. It would have been a big favourite. You look at how it's turned out positionally. Would have only needed green and brown. So a reprieve for Wu instead. These shots are always unpredictable in terms of what the cue ball's going to do.
2.
He'll be happy enough with what it's done. Well, that said, it's probably come a bit too far now, so the scrap continues.
Yeah, as you said that, Michael's in total agreement. It looked like it was going to pull up nicely, didn't it, the cue ball to be on the green, but it's just travelled that little bit too far. So you're not going to be able to get close to the brown. So he's sacrificed the cue ball somewhat to make sure of the pot, and he's got a pot on here, and a natural angle brings him down close to the blue.
Well, blue and pink won't be enough. It would only put him 7 in front. So there would still be the chance of a respot. He's going to need all the balls.
Oh, 14.
If he's landed straight, he's got a choice to make. Does he bit more pace and leave the black into the corner, or does he just pull up short and leave the double? It's basically a free shot of the double, being 7 ahead with just 7 left. And that's what he's decided.
20.
So Wu Yize was 3-0 up at the interval. 3 closely contested frames since then. Lost both of the previous 2. Needed that black to win this one. So, how do you like this? Force a respot.
Yeah, doubles are never a certainty, are they? But I was all expecting to get that one, and he hasn't got away with it. You never know where they're going to finish.
Yeah, it was by no means a certainty, that pot.
And the frame.
Well, she's called the frame, but, well, that was never going to go unnoticed, was it, Joe? Don't think there was any danger of the frame being erroneously awarded.
No, very rare you see a mistake from the referee, but
Do you call it heads or tails? It is head.
again, it's easy for the ref to lose a little bit of concentration as well at times with frames, especially with frames like that. But here we are then, respotted black.
Yeah, it's so instinctive, isn't it? You see someone pop the black at the end of a frame, and it's nearly always to win the frame. Okay, then, here we go. 4-2 or 3-all.
Yeah, that's the most common choice these days for a respotted black. Cue ball on one side, black on the other. Got to be careful not to leave a double. Yeah, played that pretty good. So a little bit of cat and mouse now, you feel. Trying to create an opportunity. You can get distance between the balls. It makes the next safety shot that much more difficult. But the main goal here is just always get that object ball safe. If you can get the cue ball safe as well, it's a bonus, but make sure that object ball is not potable. This is the first real difficult safety shot either player's had. Probably play this up and down and then back up again and try and leave the black on the side cushion. Not easy to judge these, can go wrong. He's given it plenty of thought. The other option, of course, is to clip the black thin and try and rest it on the side cushion bulk end of the table, but again, it's so risky. The up and down and then back up again is the more common choice of shot in this situation. You're almost sort of playing a long double into this bottom left corner, and then black just bounces up, finishes in the middle of that side cushion. Well, I think that's what he played in the end, but he got a double kiss, and he's got very, very lucky.
Well, the long potting was a struggle for Xiao Guodong early in the match. It's improved markedly in the last few frames. And it's another fine long one from Xiao Guodong there. Well, Yize won all of the first 3 frames. He might have won the next 3 as well. He hasn't won any of them. So we're level at 3-all. Frame 6 was the longest of the match so far at just over 40 minutes. It was also the closest, ending up with a respot going the way of Xiao Guodong, who was 3-0 down. And at that time, didn't look like someone who was playing well enough to have much chance of turning it round. But he's level now at 3-all. 2 more frames to play this afternoon. And the curtain between the 2 tables has now gone up. And quite a few of the crowd who were watching the play on table 1 have come over to join us here for the conclusion of the afternoon session in this all-Chinese encounter. As I say, it was Yize leading 3-0 early on, but it wasn't like he was making the most of every opportunity, so it was clear that if Xiao could raise his game even a bit, there would be a chance of really turning it round. But really, Joe, you look at it, Wu could have been 6-0 up by now.
Yeah, and I think he started to show some signs of disappointment, didn't he, in that last frame when he missed the ball. He sort of flung his cue up in the air, not something we see from Wu Yize. So I think he knows he could have been in a commanding position in this match, but as it is, he'd be happy just to get out of this session at 4-4 now, I think, the way it's going.
Yeah, and we've got to give great credit to Xiao, because when you've been battling a bit for form through the afternoon,
Thank you, frame 7.
facing a black like he had to win the previous frame is a big ask, but he knocked it in with real authority. So, all square with 2 to play in this opening session. I think earlier on this afternoon, you wouldn't have given Xiao much hope at all of making a black like that. He was struggling to make anything much from distance. His long game has really improved as the afternoon has gone on, just as Wu's has to some extent deteriorated.
Just give me
Oh, another long one. Disappoints for Wu Yize.
Somebody keeps walking and opening that door, and the light comes straight into the table.
Yeah, Xiao has been saying that it's just been mentally stronger, his play this season, and he really showed that there. It was a long frame, as I said, just over 40 minutes, and really all hinged on that. Playing it even with the amount of pace that he did, there was no telling where it was going to go if he missed it. That's what he's attributed his massive improvement to this season, greater mental strength. Doesn't feel there's been a significant improvement in his game in itself.
Yeah, well, considerable mental strength is definitely helped by tournament wins and confidence of consistently winning matches. He's not just won a tournament this season, has he? You know, he's done a lot more than that. To be where he is on the 1 year list is an incredible achievement. Players you mix with week in, week out on tour. So he must be just full of confidence, even like when he not playing so well like today, he's still got that inner belief that it's there and he can do it.
So for the second time this afternoon, we have a swift re-rack decision. Yeah, and you're absolutely right in what you say, Joe. It's not just been all about Wuhan by any means. He's had so many good tournaments. And really, wouldn't have required a lot to happen differently for him to have even had a much better season. You think of the International Championship, where he only lost 9-8 in the semi-final to Chris Wakeland, so could have had another final just a few weeks after Wuhan. Pushed Neil Robertson hard in the quarterfinals of the World Grand Prix, and then in the Players' Championship, as we were discussing earlier, he was on the brink of knocking out John Higgins and getting to the semis. Ended up losing that one in a decider as well. This young man's had a really good season too.
Frame 7. Where's that break?
And we go again then in frame 7.
Oh, he left a possible red here for Xiao Guodong. Yize is very, very positive in all his shot selection there. His only intent there was to move the red away from the black. But he's left the possible red here up into the yellow pocket. It's far from easy, but it's an opportunity. Yeah, it's gone in. So Yize is, I just feel like he's just unravelling a little bit. His shot selection is definitely questionable. Nothing wrong with always being on the front foot and trying to attack, but when you're not playing well, sometimes you have to just make it a bit more difficult for your opponent.
This is the last day of March. I think it's fair to say April will feature quite a bit of talk of black ball finishes, because next month will be the 40th anniversary of the most famous of them all, that World Championship final between Dennis Taylor and Steve Davis. The most famous respot that we've ever seen was the 1998 Masters final when Mark Williams beat Stephen Hendry. Having just seen a respot in the previous frame here, we'll see Mark Williams himself tonight, starting his title defence against Ding Junhui, and you'll be able to join us for that here on ITVX. It's going to be intriguing to see that one, Joe. Mark's first match of his 50s, and it's his first match ever playing with contact lenses.
Yeah, well, he was struggling, wasn't he, at the Players with his eyesight, and wasn't comfortable with certain shots and what he could see properly.
15.
So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. I hear it's all good so far on the practice table, so we'll see.
16.
But meanwhile here, Xiao Guodong is starting to get boss of this match. He's not playing wonderful snooker himself. He can play much better, but you just feel with his experience, he's just been a bit more patient with his shot selection. He hasn't gone for everything that's there. He's been selective, turned a few down, played some snookers instead of taking risks. And now he's starting to push on. Oh, he's a little bit unlucky there. He hit them good.
23.
It looked like he's going to be on a red into the right middle, but watch the cue ball here when it hits the cushion. He had lots of reverse side on that, and that's what took the cue up the table. Had he hit that centre ball, he'd have been on the red in the right middle. So he kept himself a little bit unfortunate there. He hit them pretty good. But again, he won't do anything rash. I think he knows he's well and truly back in this match now, and he's got Wu Yize where he wants him. And he'll know that Wu's being very aggressive in his shot choice. Seasoned campaigner now, Xiao Guodong. He's been around a long time. Not always at this level of the game, but he's been around a long time.
Xiao Guodong, 23.
You know all about the long matches, Joe. You've been to a world semi-final. You've had other good campaigns at the Crucible. Did well in the UK a few times when that was multi-session matches as well. So you know all about how it works. If Wu Yize comes out of this session trailing, considering the position he was in, what does he then do psychologically to try and put that behind him and start afresh tomorrow?
Yeah, I think with him being young and inexperienced in the 2 session matches, I think it'll be difficult for him because you're looking to get off to a good start, aren't you? Like I say, I don't know Wu Yize personally that well, but he doesn't seem like the sort of character that carries disappointment with him for too long. I think he's good at shrugging it off. So I think he'll be okay. I think he'll come out all guns blazing tomorrow, but he will have quite a lot of disappointment. It's like you say, he couldn't win the match today, but he could have really opened up a lead with the way this match has played out. Now he's just going to be scrapping now to try and still be in it, possibly. But again, who knows? Score's 3-3. Either player could still win this session.
Yeah, it just brings a whole different layer to the psychology of a match and a tournament when it's all multi-session. And we used to have, at one point, 3 of those on the circuit. Obviously the World Championship, the UK, as I just alluded to, and the old World Match Play, a very similar event to this. And the match play ended over 30 years ago now. The UK, it was about 15 years ago, went down to being primarily best of 11s. So we were down to just 1 tournament a season where it was multi-session matches all the way. It's just fantastic now to have this as well.
Yeah, it definitely brings a different dynamic to the match, doesn't it? I always found more so when you play your match over 2 days. You're longer to sort of dwell on what's gone on, or even if you've got a lead after the first session, you got a lot more time to think about it, and it's almost impossible for them demons not to creep in and have negative thoughts about losing a lead and whatnot. So yeah, the 2 session matches are very, very different to most of the tournaments we play these days. Very quick best of 7s, a lot of them can be all done and finished within an hour sometimes. Whoever can win this frame will know that worst case scenario, they'll be going in all square tomorrow. The frames since the interval, they've not suited Wu Yize at all, really. Even though he's had chances to win them, this is not how he enjoys playing. He likes to get on with it, get the balls open, get potting. It's all been very tactical at the start of the frames. Drawn out negative safety bouts, if you like.
Well, that's what makes the difference, isn't it? When you get to his sort of level, you're knocking on the door of being a top player. That's what often determines whether or not you can take that next step. Can you win these sorts of frames? Can you become more tactically adept? Because it's a challenge that is going to come up again and again on the way to becoming one of the very best. Prime example of that was our colleague Stephen Hendry, who really at a very early age was already one of the best players in the world in terms of the attacking side of the game, his potting, his break building. He could live with anyone, but he knew that until he added the tactical side, he was never going to live up to his full potential. And once he had, immediately he started winning tournaments on a regular basis.
Yeah, the trouble is when the match goes like this, them long reds that he knocks in, they just don't seem to go in. He's left Guodong another chance here, up into the yellow pocket. And it goes, so again, more pain for Wu Yize. Again, it wasn't rash that time, his shot choice, it was aggressive, yes. He knew he'd be on the black if he knocked it in, but trouble is, he's not potting them and he's not getting away with them. That's why Xiao Guodong is definitely taking control in this match now.
Yeah, he's just making fewer mistakes. He's picking off more of Wu's errors than Wu is of his. Not been much in it. Any of the last 3 frames, just been a few moments here and there.
Well, he's looking at the plant. You can get the cue ball out of there, it's okay.
9.
Well, he's not done too bad really, he's wrong side of the blue, but he should be okay. Negotiate the cue ball in between the baulk colours. Anywhere, you'd think, back down this half of the table, there's going to be a red available. So just avoid the baulk colours. And he hasn't, so that could potentially be end of break, and that'll be really disappointing. 14. Again, going back to the shot a couple of shots ago, he took the plant on, didn't have to play it. The red near the right middle was available, and he could have got back nicely on the black, but he was very intent on taking on the plant. So will Xiao Guodong be tempted? This difficult red to keep the break going, or will it be another safety shot? He's been very patient since the interval. Yeah, as expected, he's not taking any chances. He knows he's got Wu Yize on the back foot here.
Xiao Guodong 14.
Yeah, he's just not got into any fluency himself, Xiao, at any stage this afternoon. And it's because things like that keep happening. Needed to avoid the baulk colours, didn't manage to do it, and as a result he's left the table. It's just things like that that are stopping him from getting into his rhythm. Yeah, and just going back to what I was saying about Wu and the tactical side, he doesn't have to become one of the great tacticians overnight or anything like that. You've just got to add an element of that to your game a bit more, that when you have the close frames, you need to keep things tight tactically. You at least can bring a certain amount of that to your game. It's like I was saying about Hendry. He never would have claimed for a moment that he ever became one of the top safety players, but knew he needed more of an element of it just to make that step up.
Just a containing shot this time for Wu, but again he's left a possible red here for Xiao Guodong. Not easy, but Left middle. And he's just chipping away, isn't he? And again, look, no real ambition there to maybe win the frame at that visit, but again, just chips away.
Yeah,
again, another negative, well, not a negative shot, but a shot in behind the yellow, frustrating his opponent.
Xiao Guodong, 1.
Yeah, you just feel if the match stays like this, it just suits Xiao Guodong. He plays at a slightly slower pace than Wu Yize. I think he's a bit slower today than he normally is. He's up at 28 seconds a shot today, but he's normally a bit quicker than that. But you feel he's going to be able to play this kind of snooker and still be competitive, whereas Wu Yize, far more rhythmical cueist and player.
Talked earlier about Wu as a 15-year-old pushing John Higgins hard in the International Championship. We often have seen young Chinese players get those wild cards. They look really good, and then you don't hear much about them for years afterwards. And even when they do turn pro and start to base themselves in the UK, they can't reproduce the showing they had when we first saw them. Well, that hasn't been the case with Wu at all. Okay, this hasn't been his greatest day in terms of how he's played, certainly in the last few frames, but he came over and acquitted himself very, very quickly. He didn't take much time at all to settle into the pro circuit. Got to his first ranking quarter-final not much more than a year after his pro debut.
Foul. None mais. Yize, 4.
Looking for a very, very thin contact there. But Yize choosing not to have the ball replaced. He's going to take this one on himself. Now, this is cue. We're going to finish. It's not too bad. Again, he's looking to make something happen. You can't knock him for that. He's not prepared just to sit and play Xiao Guodong's game. He's trying to make something happen. You just got to be careful not to play into Xiao Guodong's hands.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You want to play your own game a bit, but you also have to show patience. And it's all about figuring out where that line is and making sure you don't cross it. Seemed like a very long time ago now for Wu Yize. He was starting off with a couple of big breaks in the first 3 frames.
One.
Well, he keeps knocking reds in, which all it's doing at the moment really is just means he keeps a firm grip on the frame. He's not really creating openings and opportunities. But it must be very frustrating for Wu Yize, desperate to get in. Just can't seem to create an opportunity for himself at the moment. Xiao Guodong's got all the answers. He hasn't really found that telling safety shot that causes a big problem for Xiao Guodong, and Xiao Guodong's not missing anymore to let Wu Yize in. So one of them two things has got to happen. Wu Yize has got to find a more telling safety shot. Xiao Guodong's got to miss one of these reds he takes on. Well, he's not holding back here. This is a tough red. Plenty of cue power needed. Here again, can't really knock him for taking the shots on. He's trying to make something happen, but they're just not going in now. But I'll tell you what, I think he's had an absolute miracle here. I don't think he's left anything for Xiao Guodong.
Yeah, one of those where you just keep looking at the reds for an inordinate length of time because you can't quite believe there isn't something on somewhere.
No, actually, I think the top red of these two pots, the way Xiao Guodong was standing around at the top of the table, it gave the impression nothing was available, but clearly pots. And it's one you'd expect Xiao Guodong to knock in, especially at the moment with how this match is playing out.
It turns out we were right to think there must be something on somewhere, but didn't really get close to that. So is this the moment where Wu starts to get his game back together?
Yes, it's a good chance, isn't it? But like we just saw, it's been half an hour since he potted a ball, so yes, he'll probably knock this one in, but can he get into a rhythm where he can make a frame-winning break?
One.
Oh, that one just wriggled in. That wasn't clean. But now he's in, and there's a few nicely placed reds here. It doesn't have to do too much tough work at the beginning of this break, so maybe you can just find a little bit of tempo.
Yeah, it was quickly into his stride, really. That opening frame this afternoon, so just needs to reset, I suppose. Easier said than done. Try to put out of his mind the way his game's gone off the boil and almost start again, really. That one's just wriggled in.
7. $13. $14.
I was going to say that looked very uncomfortable if he's going to play the shot like that. I know he's tall and he's rangy, but God, this looks very awkward. Got the green, got to be careful of. He's got the red, not in a proper line. Oh, he's done well there, very well. You wouldn't encourage anyone to play a shot like that.
20.
If he was helping him out, coaching, definitely not. He's gone in, and he's gradually creeping his way back into this frame.
$21. $27. $28.
One of 4 Chinese players in the field of 12. As we've said, if he gets to the final, he'll be seeded for the Crucible. So all 4 of them would then avoid World Championship qualifying. Zhang Anda, on the basis of what he did last season, will be a seed there as well. So the potential for 5
34.
Chinese players to be seeded straight through to the Crucible.
35.
We've had a couple of looks at this red near the right middle. It looks comfortable enough. He's left it there, maybe as a sort of insurance ball if ever he wasn't in prime position. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's a problem at all. It looks like it's pretty much over the pocket.
41.
And he's in front now in this frame. 6 points to lead, so he's almost there. And a little bit awkward at the beginning, but he's starting to speed up a little bit. That nice little bounce around the table he's got. He's starting to be more prevalent. Oh, he's just about...
42.
He's had a few, hasn't he, that have just wriggled in. They've not all gone in the middle of the pocket.
I was thinking exactly that. Must have been about 3 or 4 balls in this break that have dropped in that manner. Guess, though, those ones into the middle like that are often going to go in that way.
Oh, Kimmor's just about travelled far enough.
48.
Would like to have been another 3 or 4 inches away from this red. It should be okay. He's just having a look at the scoreboard. It will tell him he's going to need red colour, depending on which colour, yellow, green, brown, to secure this frame.
$49.
Yeah, so he's going along nicely. So it will be just the green he needs to be mathematically secure, but you expect him to follow that up with the brown and blue, just to put this frame away. And all in all, it's been a good visit, but doesn't want to spoil it now. Got to get the job done
55.
here.
Yeah, you got to give him great credit for this break of 55. Struggling to get anything going for the last few frames, and once he got this chance, we knew it was going to be quite telling as to whether or not he'd rise to the moment. Well, he has so far.
57.
This green is frame ball, having lost all of the last three. Well, it's going to be the third frame in a row that's gone on for more than half an hour. There have been one or two moments of anxiety in this
64.
visit. As we said, a few balls wriggled in. He only just managed to get on that red into the little pocket a few moments ago when it could all have fallen apart for him. But this one has gone his way
69.
now. So Xiao Guodong has still not led at any stage in this match. He came from 3-0 down to level at 3-all.
75.
But Wu Yize has found his game again. Had a very good time. He certainly can't be behind now going into the last session tomorrow. If he wins the last of the afternoon, he'll be in front. Wu Yize with that break of 75. Leads again at 4-3.
Thank you. Final frame of this session. Xiao Guodong to break. Oh, sorry, no, again. I don't know.
The patience of 21-year-old Wu Yize was really tested. From 3-0 up, he lost 3 close frames in a row, but when he got his chance there in frame 7, he took it very nicely with a break of 75.
Final
So it's
frame
Xiao
of this
Guodong
session.
starting us
Xiao
off in the
Guodong to
last
break.
frame of the opening session, needing to win it to avoid being behind overnight.
Keep quiet, please.
So obviously feeling good after that last frame when he got things going again. Decided to take that risky pot on, and this time he hasn't got away with it. He left Xiao Guodong a very easy starter. So can Xiao Guodong...
1.
He hasn't played well today, but you have to give him credit for digging in, making things hard for his opponent. He's put himself in a decent position. As you have to say, he's been second best when it comes to potting, break building, scoring, but he's hanging in there.
6.
And this is unlike a lot of the previous frames, actually. This is a nice chance at the beginning of a frame. A
7.
lot of the frames we've seen have got a bit messed up early on due to lots of safety. Not this one. Xiao Guodong straight in. See what he can do. A couple of loose reds, but we expect him to try and release some more sooner rather than later.
$40. 15.
So not on this occasion. Still another loose red to play for here. Red on the right-hand side of the main bunch. But then he'll be looking to get a nice angle.
22.
Well, there's 2 reds there that could possibly be made into a plant. But if he doesn't feel that's on... He's playing up for the pink. Bit of a surprise, and if he's landed straight, that's not ideal.
Total playing time, just creeping past 3 hours. Of course, if they were coming back to finish off this evening, every possibility it would sort of pick up the way it's gone, maybe. Be a bit of a scrap, but they'll have a night's sleep. Time to do a bit of practice, no doubt. It could end up being a very different contest tomorrow. A match that we've been referring to all afternoon that they played a fortnight ago in Telford. Overall was a pretty high standard. Both had 5 breaks of 50 plus. Wu had a couple of centuries.
30.
Of course, breaks and the match sheets can be a bit deceptive because you would look at it and see Wu's had 3 70 plus breaks this afternoon. Been a lot of times in between where he's not weighed in heavily. Has missed chances and made unexpected errors.
35.
Well, he left it to the last possible moment to break some more reds into play, but it's worked out nicely for him. He's got another 2 or 3 loose reds here before he has to do it again. So this is better from Xiao Guodong.
Well, if he does manage to win this in one go, it'll be totally different to any of the other frames he's won today, even in frame 5 when he made that break of 62. It was a closely contested one. That break came right at the end.
42.
So this break is very intent on clearing all the loose reds that are available. It's normally a sign that a player's not feeling that confident, doesn't want to bring all the balls into play. But he's done it nicely. But he will need to, again, at some point,
49.
Release a couple more reds from that main bunch.
With that, Xiao reaches 50.
50.
For only the 2nd time this afternoon.
Well, there's a red available, but it's not a certainty. The red closest to the cue ball. Play it into what we call blind pocket. The right middle pocket. And he's also got to hold the cue ball. Or take it in and out of balk, one or the other, depending how he likes to play the shot. Yeah, he played that one
50.
nicely. So break up to 50, 58. Still another loose red available.
62.
So, potentially 2 balls away here from winning this and a clean kill.
$63.
Yeah, he played that one lovely, didn't he? Lovely control. Nicely on the black. He'd love to, obviously, love to make a century and clear the table, but foremost, he'd like to just get another red off the table. You feel that would definitely be the end of this frame. Yeah, nice. This has been a wonderful contribution from Xiao Guodong. It didn't look like doing anything like this. Even though he's won a few frames since the interval, it's not been fluent and clean. This has been much more like it.
Yeah, it's hard to believe this frame belongs to the same match as all the others we've seen since the mid-session interval.
$77.
Just like that match in Telford a couple of weeks ago, Xiao Guodong has produced his highest break of the afternoon in the last frame of the afternoon.
Xiao Guodong, 77. And a frame.
It's a break which won't go any further. Yize led by 3 frames to 0. Xiao Guodong has had by far the better of it since then. He's won 4 of the last 5 frames of the session. Yize thought they were going to continue playing, but it's only an 8-frame session and they've split those 8 frames. They will resume tomorrow all square at 4 frames all after a fine finish to the afternoon session by Xiao Guodong with that break of 77. So that concludes the afternoon session.